Welcome back, guys. Another episode of the Jordan Patrick Show. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Fantastic. It's a good
There
night.
it is. There's that energy. Good. It's good to see you guys. We'll get right into it, gentlemen. Miguel Cabrera did something pretty impressive for the Detroit Tigers. He joined a very, very special club. 38-year-old Miguel Cabrera hit 500 home runs. They were playing the Toronto Blue Jays and hit a solo shot, a 400-foot solo shot against Steven Matz. Richie, why is this impressive?
Because less than 30 people in the history of Major League Baseball have done it. That's why
28.
it's impressive.
28. Last person to do it was David Ortiz.
Yes, back in 15, I believe. And the
Right.
closest on the list now, Giancarlo Stanton is approaching 400 maybe next year. Mike Trout's another guy that's going to be, if he could actually stay healthy. And, you got younger guys like Ohtani, who's having a sensational year that people are going to project if he goes at this rate. He should definitely be in that. But, this is a list of ball players. You're talking Barry Bonds, Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Ken Griffey Jr., Alex Rodriguez, just the best of the best are on this list. Getting on that list essentially guarantees you entry into the Baseball Hall of Fame. In addition,
he's a future Hall of Famer already. I mean, his resume looks phenomenal. I mean, he's let's see. Here it is. Oh, real quick before we get into the details of his actual resume, this is pretty fascinating. It blew my mind when I heard this. Out of all these 500 home runs, they all came when he was a starter. None of them were a pinch hit. Not one. That's wild, dude.
Yeah, that's different. You don't see that all the time. It's unfortunate that he didn't get it at home because I know that a lot of people were looking forward and excited to seeing if he would have got it in Detroit.
Right.
But that would have made AJ Hinch happy. So fuck you, AJ Hinch. That's okay. But
there it is.
yeah, I love Miggy, but I hate his manager. But it's okay because he's done most of his damage prior to the Hinch era.
I love what Miggy's done for the game, quite honestly. And, I don't care where it was. I'm just glad he already reached that benchmark. And he's already surpassed it. He hit 501 the other day as well.
Part of the 501 club.
Yeah, it's a new one. He's I think the next benchmark is 504. I'm not sure who that is exactly. I remember reading that somewhere. I should have that pulled up. But the only other active player, do you know who that is currently? That is a part of the 500 home run club?
Active? No.
Albert
Pujols. Yeah.
There you go.
You know what it is? Even though the Dodgers, I'm not going to lie, I don't watch a lot of the Dodgers. They play a lot later. And that trade, when he got released and then ended up with the other LA team, it was kind of so under the radar that I myself still forget that he plays for the Dodgers. Because that team is so star-studded that I myself actually do forget.
Yeah, that's a star-studded team that plays at most of their games start at 10 after 10 on the East Coast. So nobody's really up for that. And if you are, you're not staying up till 1 a.m. to watch the rest of the game.
On the flip side, they get the early games for football season. That's kind of weird. Having breakfast, watching the game already.
That is kind of interesting. I had a buddy that lived out in San Diego, and he said one of his favorite parts of living there is watching, morning football at whatever time, 10 a.m. You're in the middle of a game. It's pretty cool. Want to roll into this real quick about these divisions. And is it fair? We'll move off of Miggy real quick for a minute. We might circle back, but is it fair what's happening right now with the NL West and the AL East? And I think you know where I'm going with this regarding the Giants and the Dodgers out in the West, and then the Yanks and the Rays in the East here. Is this kind of a touchy situation for you, or how do you feel about this with these teams? Basically having the best records in baseball, being in the same division, and in the AL and the NL. Is it fair?
I wouldn't say it's fair, but it's just part of the way the setup is. But it doesn't happen every year that two second-place teams also happen to be the second-best teams in their respective leagues. In this case, about the Dodgers and the Yankees, which wouldn't be a far stretch to think that they could meet in the World Series, and they hypothetically both have to start with a one-game playoff because
that's what I mean by fair.
Yeah, it sucks. But like anything else, if you're that good, it's a tune-up game, and if you're destined to get there and the pressure's on, that's just part of all of it.
To our listener and viewer, you're going to have to get through a wild card game, and it's an elimination game.
For the rights to play the Rays. And a better question could be, is it fair to the Rays that they have to play the New York Yankees or the Boston Red Sox, who aren't too shabby in their own right, even though they've been sliding? Hypothetically, let's say the Yankees, who have the second best record in the American League, that's Tampa's first matchup. Whereas the Chicago White Sox, who looks like they're going to finish with the third best record, at least for a divisional. There'll be three, probably the fourth best record in the league. They'll have a easier opponent than the Rays will. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes with the wild card. In football,
I was going to say, I don't really want to. Yeah, go ahead.
In football, the way it works is it's similar. You get the lower seeded team, but when it comes to one of those deals where it's like a division winner versus a wild card, it gets a little murky too. So sometimes it just depends on the power of the schedule, because somebody is going to be mad that somebody from the National League East is going to the playoffs. I mean, granted, before the Braves ran into the Yankees, they were playing much better. But it happens in at least one season, no matter what sport. There's always that one division where you're like, damn, nobody belongs in the playoffs. And sometimes they prove that they do, and they play better than their record. And sometimes they do what you think they're going to do, which is underachieve.
With these elimination games, though, in baseball, it kind of reminds me of any given Sunday, how a team that doesn't even need to be there can actually just show up and win, and they don't deserve to be there. The team that actually has the better record that does deserve to be there can run into injuries or a number of different issues that could cause them to lose that game. Just have a bad game. Who knows? There's time. All you got to do in baseball is win the series. You can lose a game every series. Just win the series, and you'll have good shape usually.
I was going to say, when you think about all the other sports, probably none more so than baseball requires an actual series to determine which is the better team. Football, at least, there's fewer games. They're always going to have a smaller sample size. Basketball is maybe a little more comparable, but a one-off game, that tells you nothing about the previous months of the season.
Especially for
anything can happen.
Season.
But there's two ways to look at it. That's the punishment for not winning your division.
Yeah. Well, that's a very brash way to look at it, but I like it.
It inspires the rivalries. It makes those division games matter more in theory, right? But I mean, how quick do you get to tiebreakers? You know what I mean? In NFL, your division record can suck, but your conference record is good enough for you to win the division. It rarely happens, but it is possible.
Yeah.
What's wild with this one-game playoff? Hypothetically, if the Oakland Athletics were to finish the end of the year tied with the Yankees and Red Sox, there would be two play-in games. The lowest seeds would have to play each other, and then they would go to the Bronx. Hypothetically, if it ended today and say the Athletics were tied with the Red Sox. And on the other side, talk about getting punished. The Dodgers have the second best record in all of Major League Baseball. They're in second place in their division. They're the world champions. And no matter how great of a year they had, if they are bad for 3 to 4 hours in that one-game playoff, they are done. No matter who they play. It's not about who the better team is. It's who's the better team that day.
And I'm not complaining. I'm just saying to me, that's not right. But, whatever. I don't know. I have a little bit of an issue with that. But
the only solution is you would essentially have to do away with the divisions, but then you're doing away with rivalries, and that's just not going to happen.
And as you said earlier, that's when you start diluting the game, and that's not good. That's not the goal here. But so at the end of the day, I guess that's part of the fun. But we'll move it right along. We'll roll into the NFL and keep you guys interested here. The NFL preseason, I want to touch on this just for a second, gentlemen. How do you like the new structure? Is it working for you? Oh, Jesus, I just read the ticker. Yeah. Thank the ghost of Tim Tebow.
Your Jags, pal.
We'll get into that in a minute.
If he was in there as a tight end blocking, maybe he hadn't get hurt.
Did you see the viral videos of him trying to block?
Yeah, he's something.
That shit was not good, bro.
Did it look like a minor league Mets player trying to block?
Yeah, actually it did. Really good athlete, not knowing what to do in the situation. Like he looked lost.
They're trying to play baseball.
You're not a tight end, first of all. Oh, here we fucking go. Okay, you're not a tight end, bro. You're not a tight end. You've been out of the league for years.
I never really thought he was a quarterback either.
You're a fullback, right? No, you can't just step back in. It's disrespectful and disingenuous to think that you can just step back into the league and take an opportunity from some of these young guys. And I'm a Gator fan. I'm a Jaguar fan. I'm a Tebow fan. But get the fuck out of here, dude. Get out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Just like so many other jobs and careers and whatever have you and ways to step up. Sometimes it truly is who you know and relationships that are built yesterday. I mean, I get it. Yeah. Urban Meyer had a lot of success. He looked at him like a kid. But I'm going to throw one at you, even though I agree that bullshit that he came back. You, I believe, were the one who brought this up. I did it a little thinking, you might be right. Take a little attention off of the number 1 draft pick, Trevor Lawrence, because Tebow has his own little cult.
He really does. And I don't know which angle to approach this. El, you can even help me out with this. I don't know if it was a merchandise thing. I don't know if it was a Urban really actually trying to throw him a bone to see what he's got, or if he really wanted to put the effort in. I mean, I feel like it's just the same old rhyming. I've already heard this story. And it doesn't end well. And I even made a bet with Gilly, a buddy of ours, and that he wouldn't even. I think the over/under started at a half. 0.5 TDs. Would Tebow even get a receiving TD, a rushing TD, a passing TD, just a fucking touchdown? Would he get one? Then it quickly, within like 6 hours, moved to 2.5. Then it moved to 5.5. So Gilly and I actually took 5.5 over/under. I took the under, not to make this too boring, but I said, hell no, he's not getting 6 TDs this year. You're out of your fucking mind. The guy's not even going to play on the team. He's not even going to start on the team. He won't even make the team. He's going to get cut. So we actually put $1,000 down. Didn't shake on it. Ended up being a $20 bet. So I lost quite a bit of money for not following through. But he didn't even make the team. Come on, let's be real. And then I don't even.
Do you think the only question that ever mattered out of this whole scenario was, do you think Urban Meyer in any way lost part of the locker room by even putting them through this shit? Like, this was always the conclusion.
Exactly. The article that The Athletic wrote, if you guys don't subscribe to The Athletic, viewers and listeners, please do. It's fantastic. They wrote an article that basically said he absolutely lost respect by doing this and lost the locker room. I agree. I couldn't agree more. You knew the result. Did we not? I mean, this is the dumbest shit. It was a circus.
I have mixed feelings on it because they're a very young team to begin with that I don't necessarily – like if that shit would have happened in a more established locker room with more established success – I mean, at the end of the day, this team won 1 game last year. So if I was 1-15 the year before, I'd be pulling out all kinds of weird shit to see what works.
How many football games did Tim Tebow win last year?
Exactly.
Well, yeah.
He's got nothing to say to these guys. Yeah, he's got high character, and I know Urban Meyer wants him to bring his personality around, but it's like these guys are not new to football. They're new to professional football, maybe. But let's be real. Colleges pretty much operate professionally, and now there's money on the table, not under it.
I mean, right? He couldn't get it.
Don't need the fucking rah-rah go team. They need people that are going to push them to compete and be better at their jobs. Tim Tebow wasn't going to push anybody to be better at their job necessarily. He might demonstrate a work ethic at best.
They might
but
read
that's
a few.
all he's got to give.
You know, honestly, though, to Rich's question, you're not going to see Belichick do this dumb shit. So a more established team or a coach that's more respected, they don't need to do this. So I do like your point of a 1-15 team pulling all the stops.
But that Tebow was still kind of in the league, kind of dwindling through. Like Denver, New England, New York Jets out of the league. Yeah.
No, the Jacksonville stop was his farewell tour. He went to high school in Nice for a year. That was just to sell some merchandise. It was just bullshit. I was so sick of hearing it before it was even. Anyway, whatever. Let's dive into some. Let's move on. Let's just move the fuck on.
More good news out of Jacksonville, right?
Yeah, exactly. News. Woke up this morning and saw from L. Thank you for this text. Etienne injured. Our rookie running back. What's that?
I said I'm such an asshole. Sorry.
Put you a little jerk.
Hey, good morning, bro. Your first round running back just he's sitting out for the year. He's injured.
It's not panic. We'll have Carlos Hyde. It's not panic time.
Not quite yet. Carlos Hyde, I like your point there. It could be a good sneaky little scoop in fantasy to get some. He's a good receiving back, and he's a great goal that can get you some TDs late in the game with some garbage time if they decide to sit Robinson. And just in general, it might be a good pickup. Yeah, I don't know. Etienne went out with season-ending an injury to his foot. I believe it was a strain that needed an operation that now the year is done. That's serious, man. I know James Robinson, our back, put up top five RB numbers last year, which is great. But we really were kind of relying on Etienne to give him some, that dual back threat, give him some relief. And it just keeps getting uglier for my Jags. And I don't know if you guys have kind of peeked in on Trevor Lawrence. He looks like shit. He does not look like an NFL quarterback. He looks like shit. So I'm shocked and upset about that too. But par for the course with being a Jaguar fan. So I don't know. How are you guys feeling about this?
Like every time, Trevor Lawrence has the goods. He'll be fine. The coach is a bigger question mark to me, honestly. Urban Meyer is a great coach at the college level, proven time and again that he's a championship coach. But we've also seen the likes of Nick Saban not translating to the NFL. It's
didn't work out well for him.
Different. No, not at all. Ask Miami.
And Pete Carroll failed twice.
He succeeded in win. That was going to be my point. How great Pete Carroll didn't start out very well at all, and now look at him. So.
But it took him 3 shots to get that third shot.
I'm not saying Urban Meyer won't get it done. I'm just saying, to me, that's almost a bigger question than whether Trevor Lawrence is going to be fine. He'll be fine. The guy's had the talent recognized since he was a high school kid, and probably before that. He'll be good. It's just a matter of him getting the right setup.
I see a good receiving room, and I see a decent backup in Carlos Hyde, who, even though you lost a very talented young player, you still have a decent 1-2 punch. I'm sure a lot of people, when you look at the running backs around the league and they see James Robinson and Carlos Hyde, do a lot worse than that. Ultimately, you got to see the O-line, how they play, and also on the other side of the ball, because your defense was far from good last year. But I do think the Jaguars are going to be a little better than people think, 6 to 7 wins. I might be going a little high on them, but that's honestly what I believe.
I got a text from my brother today. Literally, all it says is, I'm worried about our O-line and our pass defense. Our secondary is just getting picked apart. I don't want to dive too much into the Jaguars here. We'll kind of move it along, but just to carry this year. But it's not looking good for my Jags. A 1-15 team is not going to be good the next year. What? Yeah, it's going to take – I'm not panicking yet. I'm just saying the injury to Etienne does not help where we're at already. And we're trying to build and rebuild and get this going.
No less than 5 wins.
I'm sorry? 5 wins.
No less than 5.
I hope so. I really hope so, man. I hope you're right. So on the topic of injuries, real quick, we'll touch on both your teams. Two of your major players, guys. We'll start with you, El. Dak. How do you foresee this season going for him? Is it going to be the number producing season that he had 2 years ago and just shined and was, shattering records, fantasy records, and just and making every fantasy owner happy? And is it going to be that, or is it still going to be a lingering injury that's going to kind of hamper your team and him throughout the year?
I definitely think the latter. The reports out of camp. I mean, today he just started participating in 11-on-11 drills again and supposedly looked good, but we're pretty late on for him to be getting full first team work. It's got to be a patient process bringing him back. He's obviously our dude. We put the money up, and I support that decision too. So we don't want to rush him back for a season that we can't feel like we're a favorite team. If we take the mentality of a scrappy underdog and like people are underestimating us, we might go far. But we can't come to the season with any type of attitude about we're the Cowboys and we're number one. Fuck no. You have to remember the horrible season we just came off of. Our defense needs to grab their fucking nuts and play like they give a shit. The offense will be fine. Dak was putting up numbers that were inflated because he had to do more than a good team would do to stay competitive. His numbers are going to come down. They were not sustainable last year, but to his point, to his credit, he said, I don't want to put up those numbers. If I'm throwing that many times a game, we're not doing well because the game plan is to control the ball, use Zeke, and dictate the flow of the game.
Yeah, you guys often seem to start out. Yeah. You guys, and I agree with that completely. You started out a lot of games when he was shattering those records. You started out a lot of games down 10-0, 7-0, like right out the gates.
And more.
To Elliott's point, you want Amari to be the chain mover. You want to control the pace of the game and the attitude of the game with the Zeke Pollard combination. And you have your two talented burners in Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb.
Get it out to Gallup. Yeah, get it out to Gallup and
You're going to be fine on offense. They don't have to be a top 10 defense, but they got to be able to get off the field a little more frequently on third downs.
We can't give up a touchdown every time our offense doesn't score. Otherwise, you're not going to be patient with the ball. You're going to start airing it out to keep up, and that's what happens.
He does.
And that's a scenario for a loss, in my opinion. And on that, real quick, Rich, on your side of the ball, people are calling me crazy for drafting Saquon. I was fifth in my fantasy league, and I picked up Saquon. There's a lot of uncertainties here dealing with this knee injury. However, I think this is the year that he actually shines and bounces back just fine. I really do. I have a lot of faith in Saquon. However, he was falling as low as 9 and 10. I mean, I see some guys, and I'm getting clowned quite a bit for it. I may eat my words. I don't know. I may eat my pick later in the year. But
think 10, and Saquon had just gone. I think he went at 9 or at 8. But it's really it's risky in the sense that of the obvious. He's been hurt last year, the whole year. The year before that, he missed a few games. But from a fantasy standpoint, I think he could make up his pace starting in October. If I'm the Giants, I'm taking a very conservative route with him in the month of September. They brought back proven veteran running back Alfred Morris, who actually did very well for the Giants in Saquon's absence. They have other
also have Booker.
The void. I'm not saying he's not going to play. He's back already. But I would put him on a responsible pitch count and possibly do things a little differently where he, in the first few weeks of the season, he's predominantly the pass-catching back, whereas you have other guys that are hitting the holes the traditional way. Because not for nothing, the one knock I have on Saquon's game, even though he's a phenomenal athlete, is the same knock I used to have on Barry Sanders' game. They can dance, they can make people miss, and open space, they're scary. But the most difficult part of both their games is just initially finding the hole and hitting it and taking the short yardage, as opposed to always thinking that you're going to go to pay dirt every time that ball is snapped.
Absolutely, which is a problem.
I wouldn't go the 2,000-yard route, but I think he's looking more at, and I'm going to go low just on a humble tip. Say he'll be about 1,600 yards. That's including his pass receptions, where the typical healthy Saquon's looking at 2K. But, he is a phenomenal physical specimen, so it wouldn't surprise me if he really did heal that much better and that much quicker.
One statement and one question. One statement, one question. I think he's RB3 this year. Dalvin Cook's going to be the best running back this year. Christian McCaffrey's going to be second. Saquon's going to be third this year. I know that's a huge statement. I'm going to stand by it.
I really hope you're right, from your mouth to God's ears. I didn't select Saquon because of my own worries. I think Saquon's going to be top 10, more towards the back half of the top 10, but I still think he's going to have a successful year. He's going to have a healthy year.
I think so too. Agree and disagree. So in the sense that I think that if you guys are relying on Saquon to the point that he's having a great fantasy year, it means Daniel Jones isn't stretching the field, and it ultimately means you guys are going to be in another rebuild very soon because Daniel Jones is not the guy. If Saquon is having to put up career numbers to keep you guys afloat, it's not good for your team.
I don't see him putting up career numbers this year. I think he's going to have a solid year, but I do feel that they have given Daniel Jones enough weapons. The O-line, a lot of people have been very critical.
They have.
Do enough. We'll see.
It's do or die for your boy DJ there.
Oh, no question.
It's on the line, man.
Absolutely. A solution will be found one way or the other.
We'll get into that in our NFC East preview coming up next week for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So the question is, the second part of that is the statement of the question. The question is, at 5, who are you taking ahead of Saquon? Why is he falling to 9? Why is he falling to 10? I know Kelsey was on the board still. That's what everybody said I was crazy. Not to take Kelsey over Saquon. I'm sorry?
The history. And also, I think a belief that the Giants' O-line just isn't that good. I think they're going to be a little better than people believe, but the point is, they're not exactly a unit that you're going to look at and be like, oh, I trust these guys. You got Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, you got Derrick Henry, you've got Christian McCaffrey, and you've got Ezekiel Elliott. I just named 5 that logically should probably have a better year than Saquon Barkley. I didn't mention Nick Chubb. He's another potential guy. I didn't mention J.K. Dobbins, another potential guy.
I don't think Dobbins. Everybody's a little too high on Dobbins.
The rookie in Pittsburgh. He might see a lot of people and find himself in the top 10.
I'd be higher on Harris than I would on Dobbins. But not to get too, we're speculating a lot on fantasy right now, but which is fine. It's a lot of fun. But you, real quick, Richie, had a pretty fascinating trivia question. You said that stuck out in your mind the other morning over some coffee that you wanted to pitch to me and Elle. And real quick, checking in with one of our viewers and listeners and good friends of the show, Brett. Did you see what he threw in the text? It's good stuff. Good stuff. Elle, you look like Jason Momoa hasn't eaten in weeks.
Oh, thanks, man. My wife would prefer to be with him most of the time, so that's really, really flattering. Appreciate
Bretsky. You make me laugh, buddy. That's some funny shit. Real quick though, Rich, you want to propose this question to us? I had to fucking air that out. That was pretty funny. I'm laughing over here. Air out this trivia question. See if we can pull this off. No phones, no Google, nothing. Let's just do the best we can. Try to come to an answer and see what we can do. Rich, what do you got for us?
It's a Super Bowl-based question. We have 4 head coaches. We have 4 quarterbacks that have defeated these coaches twice each in a Super Bowl. Who are the coaches and quarterbacks, the matchups? Each quarterback has defeated each coach twice on the stage of the Super Bowl. It has happened 4 times in NFL history. If you guys want to go first, Jordan, give you, say, a minute or so, maybe 90 seconds, and then we'll move it to Elle. This is
Elle can go first. I'm gonna have to think and brew and stew. This is Elle's wheelhouse, so I'm gonna have to actually sit back and think, and I'm gonna use some of his knowledge and guesses to build on mine. Go ahead, Elle, if you want. That's
I'm
a great
drawing
question.
several blanks. So forgive me, Buffalo fans. I don't know your coach's name, but didn't Aikman beat that coach twice consecutively?
Okay, so what do we say? A half point, I guess.
Yeah,
Point.
I can't think of Buffalo's coach's name because
Obviously,
he lost
you'd be a Cowboys fan. Okay, we'll carry on. Give you a little time.
We need a lot of time on this one. This might be.
I got a second one. You goddamn homer.
Go ahead, pal.
Eli beat Belichick twice.
That's probably the most obvious one.
We'll give you 3 points because your name. Each guy that gets a name gets a point. We'll put it to you like that. There you go. So you got Eli, Belichick, and you got Aikman. So those are 3 parts of this 8-parted question, I guess you could say. So you got 3 points for Elle right now, and we're going to cut you off.
I'm glad I never graded anything as complicated as you.
We're going to cut this off around 10:30, about 10:34. So you got a little bit more time. It's 10:33. No pressure. You got a little time.
Oh, man. Who was Cincinnati? Montana got them. Was it twice?
Different head coaches.
Niners, different head coaches. Okay. To be fair, that was before I was alive, so cut me a little slack.
This would take me half an hour, and I would get 1, maybe.
I barely remember last year's Super Bowl, dude. So I might have to tap out here, dude.
All right,
Help me out with the other 2.
Elliot's sitting on 3 points.
I'm going to tell you right now that he wins because the only one I could immediately come up with was Eli and Belichick, and beyond that, pure fuckery. That is an evil question. And if you're, I'm not a trivia savant like you, buddy. I'll give you that one. You are the Rain Man of all trivia. That's for damn sure.
We're gonna back it up. We'll start with.
That'll be Andy Reid and Brady, maybe. Fucking
yes.
I don't think really.
If you would have said that when you were up,
yeah.
I don't think either one of you deserve to be called the winner here. So I'm just gonna say Elliot was able to scrum up some more points.
I think Elle backed into that.
We're averaging like 1.5 together. So this is where it goes. We've got, yes, Elliot. Tom Brady defeated Andy Reid twice, most recently this past season, and way back in 03/04 when the Patriots beat the Eagles. That is 1. You did name Belichick losing to Eli twice. You did name part of Troy Aikman. Who did he beat? Marv Levy.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Oh, man, Dorney and Brett are just fucking kicking shit.
Sorry,
over
guys.
Like, do you even have magazines?
We've got one more. We got to turn it back to the 1970s. Terry Bradshaw and the Pittsburgh Steelers defeated Elliot's Cowboys twice in that decade. It's Tom Landry. And those 2
I knew that shit was coming.
Close.
I would have never.
That is the difference between the Steelers or Cowboys being the team of the decade, which in that decade it ended up being the Steelers. Because the Cowboys did win 2 Super Bowls in the 70s. But Pittsburgh won 4. And 2 of those were very close victories over Dallas. So it could have very well been Dallas's decade, but it wasn't. Similar to like in baseball in the 90s when the Yankees and Braves played, Braves were the team of the decade until they ran into the Yankees, and that changed history a little bit.
Didn't Lynn Swan have a few games against us where he just tore us up?
Yeah, and the Jackie Smith drop in the end zone is one of the most infamous plays of all Super Bowl history. When you look back at it, it didn't look like the easiest catch, but hindsight's always 20/20. Unfortunately, he didn't make the play. Like Scott Norwood missing the field goal against the Giants. Yeah, it's an easy kick. Is it? When 75,000 are shouting and screaming? Not that easy. Plus,
Laces
he's on turf, not in the
Laces out, Dan.
out.
Yeah, so that's that.
Great question, though. Very well put together. Just outside of my league for sure.
After I know the answers, I'm like, they're pretty fucking obvious. That was tricky.
The most obvious one.
Good on like the Rain Man Richie shit we used to do for a while there, because sometimes like, you know a lot more, but then when you're like on and this is going on, it's easy to go blank.
I feel like everybody can get the Eli answered pretty quickly. You got to dig deep.
Pay homage to Jason Garrett.
Well, moving along, we're gonna go ahead and take our talents to South Beach and discuss some super teams real quick, and just kind of get into this whole conversation about why everybody's so obsessed with it, pissed off about it, happy about it, in love with the new direction basketball's going, or they just, quite frankly, fucking hate it. I don't know. And I want to kind of get your opinion on it, El. Where did this begin in your mind? Was it in I guess that would be what, 2000 and I can't even remember, 2010 maybe? When did he go to South Beach? Or was it before that?
Yeah, that sounds right. 2011 is when they lost the championship to the Mavericks, so it was probably the summer of 2010.
It was probably 2010, right? I think that's right.
It was the summer of 2010 or something like that. It was 2010, and they lost that first year to the Mavericks.
2011.
I remember because I was out of the country.
Because the summer of 2011.
Yeah. So is this when it began? Is this the creation of the super team? Did it exist before this? Was it more finely tuned as of late? Like what? And do you like it?
No, I don't, and I think it's a two-part answer. It's not the first super team, right? Definitely not. You got Boston, you got all those LA teams. You could argue Chicago, like Rich has pointed out in the past, like adding Rodman to Jordan and Pippen already qualifies as a super team. You look at any of those Larry Bird Boston teams or the the Showtime Lakers, those are super teams when you look back and look at the Hall of Famers. But Miami and LeBron definitely changed the paradigm a bit by making it like we're declaring ourselves a super team. This is an event that we're uniting. It's like the fucking Avengers. It turned into all these disparate storylines and bring it together as a big thing. And that's Miami did herald that movement. And yeah, we're kind of seeing more of that now.
So with Bosch and with Wade, is this like, I'm trying to think how to word this. Like, I don't know if it was so there's a lot of manipulation of contracts to make this happen and things like that really exist with the Jordan era and that Bulls era, I should say. And those contracts, you bring in, man, I don't really know how to word this. I don't know if I like it as much. I don't respect it as much. I know that for a fact. And there's a lot of manipulation going on here that and finagling that you're signing. What is it now? What's the big three is like what everybody's doing. It doesn't need to be done. Injuries can happen. Look at the fucking Phoenix Suns making it and getting there and playing a team like Milwaukee. Yeah, they have Giannis, but who's their number two? Middleton.
I'm going to tell you why people were so disgusted. No, Miami was not the first super team. I think super team naturally in the brain will always get associated with free agent additions. The Lakers, Elliot, I'm assuming was talking about the 80s Lakers. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a free agent acquisition from the Milwaukee Bucks. He wanted out of Milwaukee, went to LA. Lo and behold, at the end of it all, he's the all-time NBA's leading scorer. Dennis Rodman, Elliot mentioned him. Arguably the greatest rebounder in the history of the sport, joining a team
one of the best defensive players as well.
3 championships in the previous 5 years. Okay, we get that.
Golden
O'Neal.
State.
Left
I was
guard.
gonna say Shaq going, yeah. Mm-hmm.
At the time, top 3 player in the NBA. Top 3, I would say. Top 3, 4 player in the NBA goes to LA. They trade for Kobe on draft day. Trade Vlade Divac. Greatest trade ever. And they win 3 from 2000 to 2002. They win 3 in a row. But getting back to Miami and why people hate that angle of the super team, you could compare it a little bit to Boston, but when Ray Allen got there, he was already aging a little. I think the thing that really didn't sit well with so many people is that LeBron, who at the time was the best player in the NBA without winning a championship in his previous location, left that team to go to another man's team, that man being Dwayne Wade. That would be like, I'll give you an example. Patrick Ewing was recruited by Michael Jordan during a decent chunk of Ewing's first free agent experience to join the Bulls. While Ewing's life would have been easier, and he definitely would have won, even in The Last Dance, it was chronicled how Michael Jordan, when he had his differences, there was a distinct possibility that he could have signed with the Knicks. The point I'm making is neither one of those things happened. And in that era, Larry Bird, Magic, Michael, Ewing, all these guys, you associated those players with the uniform they wore. Now it's like even the way that fans follow the players, it's more about following the player.
It's a different dynamic now, for sure.
We kind of touched on this not too long ago. But this is kind of all goes into that seething rage for the Miami stuff with LeBron. I mean, right now, look what they're doing. You got Russell Westbrook over there joining AD and LeBron. And not for nothing, on any given night of the week, when Carmelo Anthony gets a decent, when his back is working, he can score 20 points on any given night. Lakers, but it's been the culture. It's been that culture.
I'll tell you why it doesn't make me that mad. The thought of it does on paper. You look at these big names like Westy joining AD and LeBron. Why it doesn't make me that mad is because sometimes it also looks like they're grasping for straws. Look at the injuries that they dealt with AD and LeBron being a GTD every fucking
Chris Paul and company, but they don't make the finals if AD don't get hurt.
I'm not denying that. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that these big threes don't necessarily matter if you're dealing with injuries. It doesn't fucking matter. You need to stay healthy.
You make a good
point. You have teams like Utah that just have a phenomenal regular season, can't maybe get it done for this reason or that or the other, but when it comes time to shine, these big 3 usually show up if they're all healthy, and that's what it comes.
Talk about injuries. Age also plays a part. Here's a big 3 that didn't work out. Scottie Pippen, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Charles Barkley all played in Houston together. They could not play together. Sometimes guys just don't mess up.
It doesn't always work. Who was it? OKC.
Yeah, Durant, Harden, and Messi.
Durant, exactly. Doesn't always work. It doesn't always work. So that's why I'm not too upset about it.
They got Malone and Peyton when they were on their last leg. That was like the big 4. But ultimately what happened was neither Malone or Peyton were used to not having the offense run through them. But just the awkwardness and like the slow way that the game was moving, it kind of affected Shaq and Kobe. And what ended up happening was Kobe was playing more in space instead of like just, kind of letting the game come to him. That was not a good combination either. Malone and Shaq being on the court together actually slowed down that offense.
It just simply doesn't always work. It sounds good in theory, but that's why it doesn't make me too mad anymore. You're mad initially. You look at it on paper and you're like, fuck that, man. And then because you want it to be like how it used to be. You respected the jersey you wore. You played for that team. You stayed true.
One thing that we could probably agree on, it happened to Brooklyn year 1, happened to Miami year 1.
Yep.
I mean, shit, even when Kobe and Shaq started, they weren't winning until when they had Del Harris. They won when they had Phil.
I think you're looking at 2 big things here, though, guys.
The rest of the roster, when you got all the 2 or 3 guys taking it all up.
Go ahead, Al.
Well, and that's it. So you got two big issues. One is the mentality. You know, it used to be pure competition. If you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. Was the mindset because it was competition. But that's not so much true anymore when you've reframed the entire thing and say, okay, yeah, that's great, but this is also entertainment. The money's gone up. So these guys will take a lower contract to be on a bigger team that gets bigger marketing deals, et cetera, et cetera. We all know how it works at this point. But this is the effect of it. You have big stars that have bigger draws on television, internet, wherever. They'll pull the eyes. So to make even more money, they do it together. And it's not about competing because their main goal is to be as successful a brand as possible. It's the death of competition, because the second part and why it was more upsetting to me is salary caps are a way to be not just responsible financially, but more importantly, it's about the competition. It's about preserving some semblance of equality, right? That parity. And it defeats the spirit of that to have them work around these contracts. Guys that you know whose value exceeds this, but they work around the money to make it happen. So now you have these stacked teams. It's boring to me.
I mean, fellas, I can't for you guys, but when you saw Golden State play LeBron 4 fucking years in a row, how tired were you of seeing that matchup?
When I stopped watching.
Yeah, so that's a great point, Rich. That's where it becomes like the redundancy of like it's already a set. It's like set in stone. This is going to be it. So in theory, out of the East this year, you got Brooklyn. Out of the West, you got LA, the Lakers, not LA, because it could be the Clippers. But so the Lakers and Brooklyn, is that already set in stone? Is that where this is going?
It's not set in stone.
Yeah, I mean, injuries are still a thing, man. LeBron's old as shit. He's my age for the NBA. That's old.
And Harden and Westbrook have never won shit. Even like for both teams, I'm saying, like they used to play together, they're not together now. Both phenomenal players. But I do think that the Lakers are in a better position to win than the Nets are. Because I think they
don't know about that.
Have a more rounded situation going on. LeBron's
the addition of Westy to that team is no doubt it's a great acquisition for them. Is it a game changer that should have propelled them over? Yeah, in theory. Will it? No, I don't think so. They're not the injuries they deal with on a regular basis. It's not going to happen again for them because of that. Mark my words right now. LA will not stay healthy to the end. There are a lot of tough teams out of the West, man.
Less than 2, just 1, and all this stuff they did. I see it as a failure, even though they've never won an NBA championship. Absolutely. I still see it as a failure. This isn't Cleveland going back to LeBron, or rather LeBron going back to Cleveland and playing with some of those clowns. I mean, he had Kyrie, but some of those rosters were pretty rough when you really looked at them. It's not the same thing.
I agree. And to El's point, there's, what he was saying too. I don't know. The end result to me is I'm not that mad about it anymore based on what happened with the Suns, the injuries, and Milwaukee, and everybody coming through when they needed to. It doesn't piss me off that much anymore because anything can happen. Golden State can face Cleveland 4 years in a row, whatever. LeBron can come back from a 3-0 deficit, do his thing, claim that he's the best NBA player alive, whatever, blah, blah, blah. All that shit could get redundant. It could be great theater. It could be whatever you want it to be. But I just don't think it's sustainable. That's why I'm not upset about it anymore. I'm like, we may have 4 or 5 years where the same 2 teams win every goddamn time. But
here's the thing with legacy, and legacy's a big thing too. Magic Johnson got a statue. Michael Jordan's got a statue. Is LeBron going to have a statue anywhere? Did he stay anywhere long enough to have a statue?
He will, but I don't know how they're going to do it. Maybe they'll just have one of his statues FaceTime the other one, and I don't know how they're going to do that shit, but he'll definitely have a statue. He will. But we'll wrap it up, man. I just wanted to touch on that, and I appreciate your input. Any last words on what you guys are thinking or what's on your brains lately, NBA, MLB, or NFL, or otherwise?
I'm looking forward to my vacation and seeing the Yankees and Mets. It's going to be the 20th anniversary of 9/11. I do feel bad for Dorney on the level that his Mets kind of imploded so quickly. I'm going to be very quick on this. About 3-4 weeks ago, the New York Mets looked damn good. Even 4 weeks ago, looked damn good. They were winning kind of like smoke and mirrors. They had to overcome too many injuries. Very quickly, August 2nd, which happens to be our buddy Brett's birthday, was also unfortunately the day that the Captain Thurman Munson passed away. Since that day, which the Baltimore Orioles beat the crap out of the New York Yankees, the Orioles are 0-19, while the Yankees are 18-3 in that span. That is absurd.
They could be 0-20. They lost to the Angels last night really bad. Like really bad. I don't know the final. It was like 13-8 last night.
Almost in September, and these dudes haven't won a game since August 2nd. And the Yankees got a cat that ran into Yankee Stadium. The Yankees have been on pure fire since that day. Then you have the ghost of Thurman Munson, who was killed literally during his playing career while he was the captain of the New York Yankees on his anniversary game where they paid homage. And what makes it even a little more creepy in a way, or however you want to call it, superstitious, whatever have you, when Thurman passed away back in '79, the Yankees played the Orioles the very next day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot linked to it because remember, I wasn't born yet, but my mother told me about how devastated my father was because he was a big Thurman Munson guy, and all Yankee fans are pretty devastated. But my mother distinctly tells me why she hates the Orioles because she always associates the Orioles with Thurman Munson's death. Then you see kind of like the positive angle of the Yankees doing all this amazing shit. The Orioles just hitting rock bottom after the Thurman Munson game. It's a little weird, bro. It's a little weird.
They're on quite the run. 11 in a row, like we said, man. The Yanks are just crushing right now. Not a team you really want to see on your schedule. I mean, luckily, speaking of the Orioles, my Rays have the Orioles this weekend, so pretty soft. They have some bats, man. Cedric Mullins, that kid Mountcastle, and
got a decent young core. I just think that they don't know how to do it yet. And when they go in these slumps, that's why they're so elongated.
And their pitching just fucking blows.
Yeah, that's Harvey.
Oh, my God. Yeah, their pitching just fucking blows.
Straight up, batting practice.
But Orioles going to make it to the postseason next. No, I'm just kidding. All right, we'll stop. Al, any last words?
Play with the legend Orioles.
No, just looking forward to what we're doing next week for the NFL preview. We're going to put out a lot of content, hopefully, if we stick to our plan, and it should be exciting stuff.
We'll try to bring you guys as much content as we can on a more regular basis now that we're doing it with this format for you. We'll bring it to you on YouTube Live and Facebook Live and on every platform that we can. So stay tuned. Thanks for sticking with us, and thanks for subscribing and telling your friends. So we appreciate it. Gentlemen, great to see you. It was a great show. We'll talk to you guys the next couple weeks.
Good job, fellas. Thank you.